Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sydney Dragway and the Random Riders Bike Night. Here this evening, kicking off, we have Matt Duffy in the airflow lane, leading with a 2:88 reaction time, making his way down the centre of the racetrack. Of course, tonight is all about having a bit of fun and getting out there on your motorcycle, running as many passes as possible. 11:65 with a 7, 1:15 mile an hour for Matt in the airflow lane, and a 14.0 for the rider in the rocket lane there, of course. I will be doing my absolute best to keep things interesting. If I do get something wrong, I am incredibly sorry. We do have a large number of riders trying to get into the venue, so we hope that as the night goes on, more and more of you will get to test your machine's performance in a safe and controlled environment. Our next two riders about to cross the finish line, 11:68 with an 8, 1:11 mile an hour in the rocket lane to take the win, to an 11:95 at 1:20 in the airflow lane. If you haven't been to Sydney Dragway before and this is your first time, don't be scared to ask questions of those around you. Bring those top four white lights on. The next pair leave the start line fairly evenly. The airflow lane slightly better on the reaction time. Looks to have a performance advantage here as well, and will take the win. 11:12 with a 6 at 122 mile an hour, to a 12:38 with a 3 at 98. All different styles of motorcycle here. We've had a few Harleys, a lot of Japanese bikes. There's a couple of our regular races here with the extended swing arm bikes as well. Our next pair about to leave the start line, and the rocket lane. Not a bad reaction time. It looks like the airflow lane in the left certainly has the performance advantage here, and we'll get there first. 10:73 with an 8, 123 mile an hour through the top end, to an 11:28 with a 1 at 136. So big speed from the rider in the rocket lane there. Pretty even away from the start line, these two. Rocket lane out in front, 11:08 with an 8, 139 mile an hour, to an 11:25 at 138. Only a tenth of a second across the finish line on those two. Unfortunately, a red light there for the racer in the rocket lane. Not going to get a representative time, but an 11:92 with a 1 at 118 for the rider in the airflow lane. If you haven't raced before, it's not critical that you leave the start line right on the green light. If you need to steady yourself, just steady yourself, be ready to go. It's not going to affect your time down the racetrack until you move forward. 1:35 to a 1:43 reaction time. Nothing in it there. About 4/10 across the finish line. 9:32 with a 7. 152 mile an hour to a 9:72 with a 5 in the Rocket Lane. Next up we have Jesse Barnes in the Aeroflow lane down there on the Suzuki 1300. Jesse, one of our regular riders here. Went 0.19 red, left 19 thousandths of a second too soon. 1:49 for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Runs on through for a 9:50. 1:48 mile an hour through the top end to a 10.18 with a 7 there for Jesse in the Aeroflow lane. I think that's Ryan Franks down there in the Aeroflow lane. Ryan, also one of our very regular racers here at Sydney Dragway. Ryan's bike looking a little bit unsteady off the start line. But runs on through for a 9.72 with a 1. 1:44 through the top end to an 11.60 at 1:21. Next up we have one of our Sydney Dragway officials down there on the start line. Brand new bike for Michael Riches. Extended swing arm Hayabusa. Picked it up earlier this week. This will be his maiden voyage on the bike, so hence the solo. A little bit of wheel spin on the hit, went 174 to the 60. Rolling out of the throttle half to half track and rolls on through for an 11.94 at only 64 mile an hour. Not a bad shakedown. The bike did get a little bit loose on the hit though, so did well to keep that under control. .067 on the tree in reaction time for the Rocket Lane here. Rocket Lane just starting to pull away at the moment and will run on through for an 11.11. 139 mile an hour to a 12.15 at 1:13 for the Aeroflow lane there. Our next pair racing to the finish line. The Aeroflow lane will get there first. 10.76 with a 5. 132 mile an hour to an 11.66 in the Rocket lane. Rocket Lane gets there by 2/10, 11.84 with a 1. 125 mile an hour to 11.53 with a 6 in the Aeroflow lane. Very close on the start line for these two, but I think the better launch going to the rider in the Aeroflow lane. And runs on through for a 10.75, 130 mile an hour to an 11.12 with a 3 at 1:39. So much bigger speed there for the bike in the Rocket lane. Big wheel stand for the rider in the Aeroflow lane there. Not too much in it across the finish line. The Rocket Lane got there first. 11.47 with a 3 at 1:32. The Aeroflow Lane on a bit of a mission. 10.53 with a 5, 149 mile an hour through the top end. 11.92 with an 8, 120 in the Rocket Lane. The Aeroflow Lane on a very nice pass. 10.61 with a 6, 148 mile an hour through the top end. To a 13.43 with a 7 at 106 for the rider in the Rocket Lane there. The Aeroflow Lane carrying the front end a fair way down the racetrack. Of course, we want to see that front wheel on the ground. 10 flat, 146 mile an hour in the Aeroflow Lane to a 9.85 with a 7 in the Rocket Lane. Pretty even off the start line for these two. The Rocket Lane getting away nicely with a 2.3, 60 foot. And runs on through for a 12.94 with a 5, 102 mile an hour to a 15.5. There was a little bit of a backfire out of the machine in the Aeroflow Lane on that pass, around about half track. If the bike just tagged the limiter there on the shift. 002 on the tree for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Left 0.02 of a second after that green light came on. And runs on through for 10.44, 135 mile an hour. 11.18 with a 3 at 137 for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane though. Not too much in this one, reaction time wise. It looks like the Rocket Lane just starting to pull away at half track and will take the win. 12.36 with a 5, 1.15 through the finish line to a 13.0 at 109 for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane. $11.96 with an 8, 1.15 will take the win over a 12.42 with a 9 at 1.11 in the Rocket Lane. I tell you what, I hope all of our viewers on the YouTube channel are enjoying the sights and sounds of these bikes running down the racetrack. Lots of different engine notes that can be heard at obviously RPM that's not normally seen on the road. Reasonably big red light for the rider in the airflow lane there, way over towards the centre of the racetrack. 10.62 with an 8, 131 miles an hour to a 12.48 with a 4 at 106 mile an hour. Of course, if you're in the pits or in the stands and want to have a second viewing of bikes and different runs that you'll see here tonight, of course, log on to our Sydney Dragway official YouTube channel. And of course, you can keep an eye on all the comments. Throw a shout out if you like. I'm trying to keep one eye on the chat. A good bunch of people in the chat. They often throw in some funny comments, a little bit of banter. 15.34 with an 83 mile an hour there in the aeroflow lane. The airflow lane will take it at 12.09 with a 7, 113 mile an hour to a 13.98 with a 2 at 82 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Our next pair rolling on up to the start line. Unfortunately, the rider in the rocket lane there left too soon. Won't get a time recorded, but will have plenty of chances to get back to the start line for another run. A 12.14 with an 8, 112 mile an hour for the rider in the airflow lane. Our next pair in full stage and ready to go. The airflow lane with a little bit of an advantage off the start line. Looks to have a fair performance advantage as well. 10.94 with a 4, 137 mile an hour through the top end to a 12.99 with a 4 at 103 in the rocket lane. And the airflow lane will take it 13.63 with a 9, 97 mile an hour. And our rider in the rocket lane gets there with a 22.88, 52 mile an hour. Our next pair on their way towards the finish line. The rocket lane will take it 11.74 with a 0, 116 to a 13.82 at 95 mile an hour for our rider in the airflow lane. The rocket lane a little bit slower away from the start line, but a 10.27 with a 5, 140.9 mile an hour through the top end to a 13.60 at 94. The red light's flashing there. I think a track walker has spotted something around about half track. $12.63 with a 3 at 114 mile an hour to a 14.0 at 91 in the airflow lane. $10.80, 139 with a 0 in the airflow lane to a 12.15 in the rocket. One of those bikes sounding absolutely glorious through the track mics. Our next pair into full stage. Of course, 0.4 of a second between each light. The 60 foot, that first box just past the Christmas tree. The next timing increment, the 330, then the 594 half track, the 1,000 foot, then the 1259, and then 1320 is the finish line. And the winner there, Rocket Lane, with a 12.02. Pair of Harleys rolling up to the start line. Very decent tyre on the back of the machine in the airflow lane. Airflow lane out in front. Only just gets pipped a tenth of a second. The margin across the finish line, a 10.91 with a 4 for the rider in the rocket lane there. Our next pair now into full stage. They've brought those top two white lights on. Looks like the airflow lane has the performance advantage and will get there first. 11.67 with a 2 at 127 mile an hour to a 12.97 with a 1 for the rider in the rocket lane. 189 to the 60 for the rider in the rocket lane. The airflow lane not too far behind, but the rocket lane will get there. No, he won't. Gets pipped at the post by 7 hundredths of a second. 10.71 with an 8, 142 mile an hour. Will take the win for the rider in the airflow lane. The rocket lane was in front at 1,000. That's why I thought it was going to stay that way. Only 7 hundredths of a second across the finishing line. Oh, rider in the airflow lane getting very crossed up there. We can see the tyre marks was in the left-hand side of the lane, and the bike turned hard right. Managed to clip the very end of the blue paint up near the Christmas tree. That's how hard it turned over. 11.69 with a 3 at 127 mile an hour was still enough to get there. But the rider doing very well to stay upright. Cherie buggy on the 666 Racing Custom Suzuki. 008 on the tree for Cherie. Regular racer here at Sydney Dragway. And runs on through for a 9.37 with a 2 at 145 mile an hour to a 10.35 with a 5 at 123 for the rider in the airflow lane. The airflow lane out in front, 10.12 with a 3 at 129. Gets there first over an 11.39 with a 0 at 130 mile an hour. And Ryan Franks out on the Suzuki Hayabusa for GSF Engineering. .137 to the 60 for Ryan. He'll get there first. 9.05 with a 1.46 mile an hour to a 10.88 with a 1 at 141 mile an hour for the rocket lane. So not too much difference in the speed there, but the ET definitely showing a fair difference. All in that first 60 feet, I think, is a critical zone for performing with a good ET across the finish line. Not a bad reaction time for the rider in the airflow lane there. And he's out in front at 10.95 with a 2 at 132 across the finish line to an 11.78 at 125 in the rocket. Rocket lane away first here. And looks like it's going to stay out in front. 11.41 with a 6 at 125 to a 15.3 at 79 mile an hour for our rider in the airflow lane. Three thousandths of a second, the difference in the reaction times between these two. The The Aeroflow Lane out in front and will take the win. 10.50 with a 9. 137 miles an hour to an 11.53 at 116 for the rider in the Rocket Lane. .110 mile an hour for the rider in the Rocket Lane at half track. Runs on through for an 11.02 at 140 mile an hour. Bike in the Aeroflow Lane not sounding fairly even. I think the Rocket Lane's going to take it there. An 11.11 at 131 mile an hour to an 11.57 at 115 for the Harley in the Aeroflow Lane there. Didn't sound too bad once it got wide open throttle, but next up we have Jesse Barnes once again from Chipping Norton in the Aeroflow Lane. Leaving with a 230 light this time. .113 at half track and runs on through for a 10.12 with a 4 at 142 mile an hour. Across the finish line to a 12.00 for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Not too much in the reaction time here. Looks like the Aeroflow Lane with the advantage though. At least off the start line. The Rocket Lane in front at the finish line though. 10.15. 149 through the finish line to an 11.49 at 127. Solo pass happening in the Aeroflow Lane there. 11.07 with an 8 at 124. Our next pair about to leave the start line. Just waiting on the Rocket Lane to bump into full stage. In there now. Tree counts down the Aeroflow Lane with the advantage on the start line. The Rocket Lane way over to the centre line. Not the best place to be. There's not a lot of track prep right in the middle of the racetrack, so it would be pretty slippery. A 9-second pass for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane there. .11.17 with a 2 at 117 will take the win over an 11.90 at 130 mile an hour. So the rider in the Aeroflow Lane definitely closing the door pretty quickly. Just running out of real estate at the top end of the racetrack. Our next pair on their way. Aeroflow Lane over towards the centre line, but will definitely get the win here. 10.24 with a 3. 151 mile an hour through the top end to a 14.15. 94 mile an hour. That bike in the Aeroflow Lane sounding absolutely splendid through the track mics. .084 reaction time for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Certainly leaving the start line nicely. The Aeroflow Lane definitely with a performance advantage here. A 14.51, 92 mile an hour through the top end to a 25-second pass at 49 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane. Our next pair ready to go. Those bikes very even all the way down the racetrack. 3/10 across the finish line. 10.21 with a 4. 136 mile an hour to a 10.25 at 146 mile an hour. .96 with a 2, 140 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane to an 11.1 at 136. So 140 miles an hour and near enough to around 225 kilometres per hour at the top end. Our next pair rolling up to the start line. A 187 reaction time for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane. Definitely going to cross the stripe first. 10.52 with an 8, 144. To a 13.1 at 108. So 100 mile an hour close enough to 160 kilometres per hour. Our next pair about to roll into stage and full stage. The top white lights are pre-stage. And move around 15 centimetres, 6 inches further forward. You bring on that second white light, telling the starter that you're ready to go. The tree will then count down. 0.4 of a second between each amber. You leave right when the green light comes on. That's a 000 reaction time. Nice pass from both riders there. A 10.35 with a 5, 149 in the aeroflow lane to a 12.80 in the rocket lane. The airflow lane will definitely take this one. 12.72 with a 4 at 111 through the finish line to a 13.6, 4 with a 1 at 110. .059 on the tree for the rider in the rocket lane. And gets there with a win. 12.22 with a 2. 113 through the finish line to a 12.56 with a 1 for the rider in the airflow lane. Looking like the airflow lane out in front. No, 600s across the finish line. The rocket lane will take it. An 11.82 with a 6 at 116. That's our closest margin of the night, I think. No, there's the new tightest margin, only 500s across the finish line there. The rocket lane just taking the win. Adrian Watson now on the Yamaha R6. Adrian, one of our regular racers here at Sydney Dragway. Runs in a modified bike. Lots of RPM for that R6. 082 red on the tree for Adrian. .1080, 129 mile an hour to a 12.26 with a 5 at 111 for the rider in the airflow lane. .1090 with a 2 at 143 mile an hour in the rocket lane. And an 1823 there for the rider in the airflow lane. This pair locked together all the way down the racetrack. 100th of a second, the difference across the finish line. 14.11. We'll take it for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Just watching those two run down the timers on my screen here. The times appeared identically the same split second as they crossed the 1,000-foot mark. Our next pair rolling up to the start line now. Not too much in the reaction times between these two. The rider in the aeroflow lane definitely with the performance advantage here. 12.31 with a 0, 125 mile an hour. To a 20.8 second pass, 59 mile an hour for the rider in the Rocket Lane. Fantastic to see those staging lanes full of all of our bikes here. Hope you're all having a good time with all of our competitors down there in the staging lanes. To all of our spectators on the mound, I hope you're enjoying the racing so far. Of course, don't forget, if you are wanting something to eat, there is a couple of food vendors on site. The cafeteria next to the scrutineering shed at the bottom of the stairs is one venue, and there is a food truck just to the east of that, under the shade structure frame. The airflow lane was going to take this one out at 11.80, 126 miles an hour to a 13.52 at 99 for the rider in the Rocket Lane there. The Rocket Lane out in front at the moment, and he's able to keep the lead just under 100th across the finish line. 11.59 with a 6 to take the win. Our next pair ready to go in deep stage is the rider in the Rocket Lane. Still will get an ET. That did just roll through the start line there. All right, the starter quick enough to spot it. Got the rider to move back into the beams. The Rocket Lane with the performance here, a 9.76 with a 0, 150 mile an hour through the top end to a 10.59 with a 1 in the airflow lane. The airflow lane to take the win here, an 11.96 with an 8, 115 mile an hour through the top end to a 13.80 at 113 in the Rocket Lane. 006 on the tree for the rider in the airflow lane. The Rocket Lane will take the win though, a 10.72 with the 3, 143 mile an hour through the top end to a 14.65 for the rider in the airflow lane, but got away with a cracker of a reaction time. 006. Our next pair racing to the finish line. The airflow lane out in front, an 11.05 with a 7, 113 mile an hour to an 11.6 at 119 in the Rocket Lane. Not too much in the start line here. The Harley out in front in the Rocket Lane. Looks like it's going to stay this way, but the bike in the airflow lane definitely closing. An 11.53 with an 8, 114 mile an hour to take the win. .11.41 with a 5 will take the win at 117 mile an hour there to an 11.94 with a 0 at 117. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll throw to our big screen for a couple of words from some of our sponsorship partners here at Sydney Dragway, and I'll be back with you very, very shortly at the conclusion of the ad break here at the Sydney Random Riders Bike Night, Sydney Dragway. We'll be back shortly.
Featuring a full bespoke billet case, all shifters are designed for right-hand drive vehicles with an LED lit gear position indicator. Available in either ratchet or gated options, as well as OEM replacement shifters for popular Holden and Ford vehicles. A large range of bank shift spares are available for each shifter that includes shifter cables, brackets, lever and gate kits, transbrake buttons and drop boxes for hybrid emergency. Shifting the gear, check out a full listing on aeroflowperformance.com.
How would it be if we funded a pilot program for you to run that enabled you to bring some vision impaired kids onto the Saints Play program?
Oh wow, that would mean the world. My reward is the smile on the kids' faces.
And since you've given so much to others, we'd also like to do something for you personally. How would it feel if Pepper sent you, your partner, and your daughter Molly to the Gold Coast for a few days?
Yeah, awesome. I don't know what to say. It's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks to the Western Weekender. The Western Weekender is Penrith's leading free and local newspaper, delivering the best content from on-the-ground journalists and providing businesses with direct access to potential customers. News, sport, entertainment, puzzles, and so much more. The Western Weekender is the heartbeat of Penrith, and it's out every Thursday. Get your free copy at selected locations in the area, home delivered, or check out westernweekender.com.au.
Boosted turbochargers for the We have a range of turbochargers including ball bearing and 360-degree dual bearing options to suit your power levels from 200 up to 3,000 horsepower. To help turbocharge your vehicle, Aeroflow Performance also have a large range of turbocharger accessories. From steam pipe turbo manifolds, external wastegates, and intake and exhaust solutions, you can have your car boosted in no time. For a full listing, check out aeroflowperformance.com.
Speed Addict Clothing Co. Fast clothes for fast people. Shop now at speedaddictco.com.au.
I have this incredible drive to succeed. I've just got this ambition, I want to get on the podium. I think there's a lot of people that have an older mentality and don't think women belong in motorsport. And that's one thing I'd like to prove a lot of people wrong. It's you in the car and it's your ambition and your drive to win. As soon as that helmet goes on, that's it. I'm Brooke Newson. I'm a sprint car and outlaw car driver.
Not slow.
Not difficult.
Not just ticking boxes.
Not a bank.
Talk to Australia's real-life non-bank for home loans, car loans, personal loans. Pepper Money, the home of loan options.
Aeroflow Performance provides a wide range of high-quality performance products for racers, street machines and hot rodders. Aeroflow Performance provides a wide range of high-quality performance products for racers, street machines and hot rodders. From fittings, fuel system components, intake solutions, and turbocharger systems.
I've chosen to use VP racing fuel since I was a teenager racing motocross, which was 21 years ago now. I just have a really personal trust with VP racing fuels.
Running on the ragged edge of blowing up and not, a lot of it has to do with the race fuel, and that's what we rely on, VP racing fuels.
VP has been making racing fuel for 43 years. They're the official fuel of multiple top series globally. No matter where we are in the world, no matter what we're doing, it's always perfect, exactly what we're expecting and our tuners expecting. They support myself, my Drift Alliance bros, and for that, I'm extremely thankful. Keep making amazing fuels. We'll keep out there having fun.
Our next pair of racers on their way to the finish line. The Aeroflow lane looks to have come around at the top end at 13.30, 98 mile an hour through the top end to a 13.25 at 102 in the Rocket lane. Bad light from the rider in the Aeroflow lane. Looks to have the performance across the finish line as well. 11.87 with a 7. 131 mile an hour through the top end to a 12.04 at 109 in the Rocket lane. Of course, welcome to all of our trackside viewers here at Sydney Dragway. I hope you're enjoying your evening's entertainment. Of course, the Sydney Random Riders bike night here at Sydney Dragway, and also welcome to all of our viewers online via the Sydney Dragway official YouTube channel. And a 10.74 with a 2, 130 mile an hour through the top end for the Aeroflow lane to an 11.19 with a 6 for the rider in the Rocket lane. .177 to the 60 for the rider in the Aeroflow lane, and we'll take the win light. 9.75 with a 2, 158 miles an hour. Big speed for the rider in the Aeroflow lane. Bike in the Rocket lane certainly moving at the top end of the racetrack. 10.64 with a 2, 123 mile an hour to an 11.06 at 136 for the rider in the Aeroflow lane. .11.30 with a 9, 135 mile an hour in the Aeroflow lane there, and I saw 139 mile an hour in the Rocket lane. Our next pair about to roll into full stage. The Rocket lane with a performance advantage, a 10.63 with a 2, 135 mile an hour to an 11.50 at 117. One of those bikes tagging limiter across the finish line. .10.98 with an 8, 136 mile an hour, the time recorded for the Aeroflow lane on that pass. Our next pair about to accept the green. 092 on the tree for the aeroflow lane. And a 1067 with a 4, 135 mile an hour to a 1078, also at 135. So very, very close in terms of speed across the finish line. The airflow lane out in front, a 1262 with a 2, 109 mile an hour to a 1377. Just over 100 mile an hour for the rocket lane. Of course, 100 miles an hour. Close enough to 160 kilometres an hour through the top end. Away very gingerly off the start line, our aeroflow lane racer there, I think. 245 to the 60 on both sides. 1191, 131 mile an hour in the aeroflow lane to a 1350. 99 mile an hour in the rocket lane there. .074 on the tree for the racer in the rocket lane. And we'll stay out in front. 1164 with a 6, 122 mile an hour to a 1080, 141 miles an hour in the aeroflow lane there. The rider in the rocket lane just red on that reaction time. 019, runs on through for a 1044. Gets there first, 148 mile an hour to a 1076. The aeroflow lane out in front across the finish line at 997 with a 6, 147 mile an hour to a 1060 at 145 for the rider in the rocket lane there. 10.67 with a 0, 124 mile an hour through the finish line in the rocket lane there. Our next pair rolling up to the start line. Not much time in between each run. It's a fantastic lineup of bikes in the staging lanes. All the lanes pretty much full. Fairly close on the start line between these two. The rider in the rocket lane just in front, a 1/10 of a second across the finish line. 12.02 with a 4, 1:16 to a 12.09 with a 7. Reaction time's fairly similar in this one. The airflow lane with a small advantage, and we'll carry that on through to the finish line. Again, I got it wrong, Ben. 12.71 with an 8, 122. Usually I'm not too bad at picking this, but I've had a bit of a shocker tonight. Now I'm having a little bit of a fair disparity between the types of bikes, I think. I'm thinking that the one particular rider's safe, but the other one's carrying another 30 mile an hour. .11.72 with a 3, 126 mile an hour in the rocket lane to take the win. Rider in the airflow lane had the better light. Didn't look very steady on his feet coming into stage. 11.42 with a 9, 127 mile an hour to take the win. Over at 11.94 with a 3. Next pair bumping into full stage now. The tree will count down. The rocket lane with the advantage. And we'll stay out in front. 12.25 with a 9, 113 miles an hour to a 12.83 with a 4 at 112 in the airflow lane. .11.38 with a 9, 128 mile an hour in the airflow lane to take the win. Over a 13.39. Our next pair on their way to the finish line. 11.63, 1:16 across the finish line for the Rocket Lane to take the win over 12.30. As our next pair roll up to the start line. Pretty even on the start line between these two in terms of reaction times. The Aeroflow Lane with a little bit more performance. Runs on through for an 11.93 with a 4, 121 mile an hour to a 15.0 at 90 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane. Again, pretty close on the reaction time. One of our riders gets a bit zealous down in the burnout box. And runs on through for an 11.62 to take the win in the Aeroflow Lane. Oh, 1-2 on the tree for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane. Nice reaction time, 10.95 with a 5, 133 across the finish line to a 15.26 at 86 mile an hour for the race up in the Rocket Lane. The Aeroflow Lane left first, but the Rocket Lane rides around. 11.15 with the 6, 128 mile an hour through the top end. .10.60, 143 mile an hour in the Aeroflow Lane there to a 12.64 at 119 for the rider in the Rocket Lane. It's one of our track walkers spots something on the racing surface. Next up, we have Adrian Watson on the Yamaha R6 down there in the Aeroflow Lane. Adrian's one of our regular racers here at Sydney Dragway. Listen to that bike scream for mercy. 017 red on the Christmas tree there for Adrian. 10.99 with a 7, 129 miles an hour to a 13.66 at 96 mile an hour for our rider in the Rocket Lane. bit of fume coming out of the bike in the aeroflow lane. 13.42 with a 4, 109 mile an hour at the top end to 14.57 at 93 for the racer in the rocket lane. Duff on another run down the quarter mile here in the aeroflow lane. And he'll run on through first for a 12.28 with a 6, 106 mile an hour. To an 11.95 with a 7 at 134. Our next pair into full stage. Tree counts down around about a 1/10 of a second head start going to the rocket lane. But the aeroflow lane with a little bit more horsepower. 13.42, 97 mile an hour through the finish line to a 14.75 at 90 mile an hour. Of course, tonight all about coming out to Sydney Dragway as a competitor and having a good time, testing what your bike will do. I've just been told there is a bunch of first-timers here tonight. I hope you're really enjoying the drag racing experience. We look forward to seeing you do more runs tonight, and of course, maybe in the future for the future bike nights we hold, and also our aeroflow race for real. And might even see you in the street bike class that we hold as part of our championship series. Just been told we have over 200 entries here tonight, which is absolutely fantastic. Which is our biggest bike night ever that we've hosted here at Sydney Dragway. Not a bad run there for both those competitors. 14.80, 84 mile an hour in the aeroflow lane. The rocket lane just took the win across the finish line. So many different styles of motorcycle here tonight. We've seen a little couple of like Grom style motorcycles. There's Harleys. There's European sports bike. Lots of different riding positions as well. I'm sure some more suited to different styles of riding than others, of course. 11.16 with a 6, 141 mile an hour across the finish line for the rocket lane there. I haven't seen any step-through scooters though. Of course, we have had postie nights as well. A postie bike club come along on a couple of occasions now. And typical of wanting performance. There's a couple I've seen that have extended swing arms and others that go for seconds in burnouts and then throw chains and all sorts of stuff. But they have just as good a time as anybody else. 20.3 second pass there. .11.04 in the airflow lane to take the win. 115 mile an hour. The rocket lane pretty close in terms of speed, but I just think tagging the limiter on a shift there at around about half track. Our next pair rolling into the beams now. .062 on the tree for the rider in the airflow lane with a fairly big wheelie as well. Managed to get that front end down around the 330 foot mark. Runs on through it for an 11.97 with a 117 mile an hour. And a 12.40 with a 6 for the rider in the rocket lane. The rocket lane running away with this one. 117 mile an hour at half track. Runs on through for a 10.32 with a 3. 148 mile an hour through the top end to a 12.59 at 125 for the airflow lane. The rocket lane back in front. And we'll take the win. 14.74 with a 3. 86 mile an hour through the top end to a 14.57, I think it was, in the airflow lane. Just need the airflow lane to roll forward, bring that second white light on. Tree counts down. And the rocket lane away first. The airflow lane, a 9.80 with a 5. 151 miles an hour. Very big speed on a motorcycle. That bike in the rocket lane sounding very, very nice as it went towards the finish line. 11.07 with a 6 to take the win. Our next pair rolling up to the start line. The rocket lane in front at 1,000 and a 11.6.1 with an 8, 129 miles an hour to take the win. Pretty close in reaction times for these two riders right now. Pretty close all the way down. The rocket lane just out in front. And stretched a little bit at the finish line. 14.91 with a 187 mile an hour to a 16.45 in the aeroflow lane. All right, the rider in the rocket lane is on board a Harley Livewire, which of course is an all-electric motorcycle produced by Harley. This machine has raced here at Sydney Dragway on more than one occasion. On 185 to the 60. Is out in front, should run somewhere around the 1160 zone. 1174 with a 7, 110 mile an hour to a 1258 with a 5 in the aeroflow lane. I guess with that one you can't get in trouble for drilling the pipes out. So the Harley in the airflow lane is going to take this quite comfortably. 11.99 with a 5. 111 mile an hour through the top end to a 13.68 at 93 mile an hour in the rocket lane. The airflow lane with the advantage off the start line here. Leaving very well, 2.04 to the 60. From start to finish, a 12.24 with a 0.114 mile an hour through the top end to a 14.28 at 92 mile an hour in the rocket lane. The rider in the rocket lane there with the big handlebars, hands way up, as is the next bike that's about to go into the water. Oh, the bike in the rocket lane getting very sideways. So we heard a couple of pedals on the throttle. Rider managing to stay pointed in the right direction. 12.41 with a 111 mile an hour in the airflow lane to take the win. And a 14.06 for the cruiser in the rocket lane. Decent hole shot going to the rider in the airflow lane here. Takes the win, 12.76 with a 3, 103 mile an hour to a 12.97 in the rocket lane. Lots of RPM in the burnout for the rider in the airflow lane. .057 on the tree for the rocket lane. The rocket lane just in front of 1,000. Stretches to half a second across the finish line. 12.01 with a 1. Next pair about to leave the start line. The airflow lane lined up on the left-hand side of the lane. Big wheel stand over towards the wall. The rider bringing it back to the middle of the lane now. The pair locked together at 1,900ths across the finish line. The win going to the airflow lane with an 11.09 at 125. 11.03 with a 196 miles an hour. All we might do for a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, is just throw to our big screen for a few words from some of our sponsors. We'll be back with you very, very shortly here at Sydney Dragway. Bike night brought to us by the Sydney Random Riders.
Bikereview.com.au is Australia's leading website for performance and modified motorcycles. Bikereview.com.au is the only motorcycle-focused website to feature motorcycle drag racing on a regular basis. And in the words of editor Jeff Ware, our involvement with Sydney Dragway is our way of putting back into one of our favourite sports. Bikereview.com.au. Stay informed, up to date and entertained thanks to Para News. Para News is Parramatta and the Cumberland area's leading free and local newspaper, delivering the best content from on-the-ground journalists and providing businesses with direct access to potential customers. News, sport, entertainment, puzzles and so much more. Para News really is the heartbeat of Parramatta and Cumberland, and it's out every Tuesday. Get your free copy at selected locations in the area or check out paranews.com.au.
bank said no to your home loan? Talk to us.
Not a bank.
Talk to Australia's real-life non-bank for home loans, car loans, personal loans. Pepper Money, the home of loan options.
Whether you're building a street machine or a race car, Aeroflow Performance has a solution for you. Our ever-increasing range features boosted turbocharger systems, Bosch Motorsport products, X-Pro electrical systems, hoses and fittings, bang shift shifters, differential parts, and fabrication components. You can see it all on aeroflowperformance.com.
Drag racing is not just about the horsepower. There is also some cool science at play right here on the racetrack. These drag strips aren't just regular concrete. We treat it with a special kind of glue often referred to as traction compound. I usually twist my foot and it's all... This is designed to ramp up the traction of the track's surface. It's getting worse by the minute for us racers to go straight and fast. In drag racing, every millisecond counts. That's why the teams adjust the car's setup to suit the track conditions. Teams can assess the traction on the track by using this interesting device called a traction meter gauge. The bottom of the device has a rubber pad that mimics a racing slick. To measure the track's grip value, the user stands on the base, ensuring the rubber pad bonds with the racing surface. Turning the torque arm on the top of the device will rotate the rubber pad. When the bond breaks, the user will see a number on the dial. Teams can then use this number to help create baselines for grip within their respective setup.
I've chosen to use VP racing fuel since I was a teenager racing motocross, which was 21 years ago now. I just have a really personal trust with VP racing fuels.
Running on the ragged edge of blowing up and not, a lot of it has to do with the race fuel, and that's what we rely on, VP racing fuels.
VP has been making racing fuel for 43 years. They're the official fuel of multiple top series globally. No matter where we are in the world, no matter what fuel we need, it's always consistent, it's always perfect and exactly what we're expecting and our tuners expecting. They support myself, my Drift Alliance bros, and for that, I'm extremely thankful. Keep making amazing fuels, and we'll keep out there having fun.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. The reason we've had to stop for a little while is we've had a child who's had a little mishap, is receiving ambulance treatment at the moment. Until we get that sorted out, unfortunately, we're unable to continue racing. So I'm sure you'll be patient as we are. As soon as we have any updates, we'll share that with you. Thank you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our first pair after the restart on their way down the quarter mile here at Sydney Dragway. 092 on the tree for the Aeroflow lane. And an 11.77 with a 5, 119 mile an hour through the finish line to an 11.96 at 109. 400ths of a second across the finish line. Thank you all for your patience. Of course, the medical attention to one of our patrons here tonight. Very much needed, and there's not a hell of a lot we can do other than give that person the care and consideration needed. But we're back under racing for the rest of the evening. Hopefully we've plenty of time to get plenty more runs under the belt tonight. Oh, the rider in the Aeroflow lane, very, very lucky to stay on board that motorcycle. The tail whipped around from the left, right around to the right. I looked at the screen for a split second to see what their action times were like. I could hear the pedaling going on the throttle, and then looked down and I could see the whole side of the motorcycle. Very even on the lights here. A 1.38 reaction time in the Aeroflow lane to a 1.56 in the Rocket lane. The Aeroflow lane in front of 1,000, a 10.82 with an 1.42 mile an hour to an 11.31 with a 5 in the Rocket lane. Scott Marshall in the Rocket lane aboard his Kawasaki. Z1100 in the Rocket lane. .161 to the 60 for the bike in the Aeroflow lane. On a bit of a number here, 9.53 with a 2, 1.46 mile an hour through the top end to a 13.12 with a 0 at 108 for Scott in the Rocket lane. Well, another rider in the Aeroflow lane. A little bit loose on the head of the throttle. A 9.89 with a 5, 1.47 miles an hour. The rider in the Aeroflow lane recovered to an 11.76 at 1.35. Cheryl Beddoes in the Rocket lane on the Harley-Davidson Destroyer, racing for Joe Curry Motorcycle Transport. .039 red on the tree for Cheryl. I think the best light we've seen so far tonight at 002. Cheryl runs through for a 9.23 with a 7, 140 miles an hour to a 9.97 with an 8 at 150. Next up, Michael Riches. On the Hayabusa in the Rocket lane, his first night on this motorcycle. over in the rocket lane this time around. .167 to the 60. And runs on through for a 9.74 at 146. 10.74 with a 9 at 147 mile an hour for the rider in the airflow lane. .019 on the tree for the rider in the rocket lane. 168 to the 60 and runs on through for 10.18 with a 6, 133 mile an hour. A 10.44 at 138 mile an hour for the rider in the airflow lane. .175 to the 60 for the rider in the airflow lane, way over towards the wall at the finish line. 10.06 with a 2, 144 through the finish line to a 10.19 with an 8 in the rocket lane there. Next up we have Shane Copping in the airflow lane aboard his Kawasaki H1 500. The two-stroke taking on Cherie Buggy aboard the Hayabusa. Not much in the reaction time. Shane slightly better with a 161. Cherie with the performance, a 9.888. 134 mile an hour to a 13.78 there for Shane in the airflow lane. .976 with a 5, 138 miles an hour for the rider in the airflow lane to a 22-second pass, 52 mile an hour. Yes, that's exactly right, Ben. Nearly 100 mile an hour closing speed there. It's only a casual 160 k's an hour, the difference. Ryan Franks now in the airflow lane for GSF Engineering. Very little in reaction times between these two, but Ryan goes 1.4 to the 60 and a 9.18 with a 5, 146 mile an hour through the top end to an 11.58 at 125 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Airflow Lane out in front with this one. 10.38 with a 2, 129 mile an hour. To an 11.71 at 127 mile an hour. Just goes to show the difference in that first 60 feet. The rider in the Airflow Lane in that pass was a good 0.6 of a second quicker just to the 60 foot. Next up, we have Brett Copping now on the Suzuki GT 750. .014 on the tree for Brett. Nice reaction time, goes 1.88 to the 60. No, I was just going to say that's not the 750, that's a two-stroke, and that bike definitely not a two-stroke. 10.22 with a 4, 141 mile an hour for Brett there. Well, there's a couple of goes at the throttle there for the rider in the Airflow Lane. 030 on the tree, though. Not a bad reaction time at all. 11.11 with a 6, 139 miles an hour through the top end. To an 11.84 with a 5 at 128 in the Rocket. .10.45 with a 1, 135 in the Airflow Lane to an 11.22 at 135 in the Rocket. .10.98 with a 0, 125 mile an hour in the Airflow Lane to a 10.97 with a 3 in the Rocket Lane. .11.35 with a 5 at 135 mile an hour in the Airflow Lane, and a 12.05 with an 8 at 119 in the Rocket. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like there might be a little bit of something falling from the sky. I just struggling to see it. Oh, yeah, I can see it just in the light. So just bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll wait and see what this shower brings, and we'll go from there. I'll wait for further instruction from our meeting director, but please just be patient. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that the weather will beat us for tonight by the time we manage to get the track dry and back to a safe, raceable condition. We'd be well past 10 o'clock with that sort of shower. So the decision has been made to conclude tonight's racing. Thank you very much to all of our competitors that came out and joined us tonight. One of the biggest bike nights that we've had here at Sydney Dragway with over 200 entries. A whole heap of you were the first timers tonight. It was fantastic that you all came out and participated. We hope to see you back here at Sydney Dragway in the very near future at another bike night or a aeroflow race for real, or even in a street bike at one of the Speed Addict Clothing Co. Championship series that we run here at Sydney Dragway. Thank you very much to all of our spectators that came out to watch the racing. Thank you very much to all of those that joined us on the live stream. Look forward to your company very, very soon. Of course, our next event will be an Aeroflow Sunday session this Sunday, kicking off at 10 a.m. through to around about 4, brought to us by Clay World. Pat and myself will be bringing you that event. Looking forward to your company. Be safe on the roads. Have a good night, and we'll see you very, very shortly here at Sydney Dragway. Good night.